And good evening, everyone. It's only 5:33. Why am I saying good evening?
It is good evening.
That evening? Because
I think after
someone
5,
got on me about that.
You know, I think once you hit 5 o'clock is evening.
Oh, okay.
Here in Natchez, it's just sometimes the best part of the day, I think.
Close to quitting time, huh?
You know, the old saying is 5 o'clock somewhere. Well, 5:30 is even better.
There you go.
Oh, man. Yeah. Mr. Leon, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, this is NatchezRadio.com, and right here in the studio, we've got the 44th Mayor of Natchez Adams County, Mayor Dan Gibson.
You're so kind.
I try.
Mr. Leon, it's so good to see you. And it's good to be on with your listeners on the radio and also on Facebook Live tonight.
Facebook Live?
Be able to do this Facebook Live. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do. I want to jump right in.
Okay.
I have had a heavy heart for a number of days now, and I expressed it some in my column this weekend. And,
I read that.
I want to talk more about that.
Okay.
I actually was on with WJTV this afternoon. I've been contacted by some other outlets around the state. Obviously, I hit a nerve. Obviously, I'm not the only one in Mississippi worried about crime right now.
Absolutely.
Now, you know, we had a great balloon festival. We just had thousands upon thousands of people in our city and on the bluff, and things just went beautifully. But I couldn't help but have it on my heart going into the weekend that there were those in our state who were dealing with grief. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting tired of the grief. I'm getting tired of the violence. And I know I'm not the only one. I have learned a lot since I've been mayor of Natchez. One thing I've learned is we've got some great law enforcement here. One thing I also have learned is that they're motivated. They want to do a good job, and we've done our best to get them the equipment they need, the new cars, the new radars, the new radios, the new bulletproof vests, the new guns, you name it. We have been doing all we can in addition to the several raises we've gotten. They're making more than others in the region. I'm so grateful for our sheriff deputies. I'm grateful for law enforcement across the river, too. But, you know, law enforcement is, in many cases, reactive. They respond when the situation happens. We try to be proactive, and one of those ways of being proactive is our Operation Safe Neighborhoods, for example, getting people off the street. We've had a lot of success with that, a joint operation. But what really is discouraging is you get people off the street, and then they end up back on the street. In some cases, our police say, you know, by the time we clock out, they're already back home. We have a revolving door in this state, and I'm not talking just Natchez Adams County, I'm talking all over the state, where we are beginning to have what I call a fatal condition. And if we don't treat it, and if we don't cure it, we're going to have a real problem. It's called 80 Percentitis. Have you ever heard of 80 Percentitis?
Yeah, I heard it.
In my column?
Yeah. That's what I was about to say.
That's the word.
What you put in the paper there, I'm going, where did you get that?
Yeah, well, I've gotten it from experience, the things I've learned. I listen to our police officers, and I talk to them a lot about the crime that we have. And we are suffering from 80 Percentitis. Mm-hmm. And that means that 80% of our violent crime, I'm talking about violent crime. By the way, our numbers are still down. Mm-hmm. We're doing good. Mm-hmm. But violent crime, 80% of it is repeat offenders. In fact, in some cases, and it's true across the state, it's repeat offenders. I talked to a retired highway patrolman last week who is also a former sheriff up in North Mississippi. He was at a Mississippi Municipal League small town conference I attended last week. We were talking about crime, and we were talking about the violent crime that's all over the headlines. It happened on college campuses and high school campuses and small communities in the Delta right here in our own backyard at Alcorn, at Jackson State. It happened even in Goche. On the coast, 2 weekends in a row. This weekend too. That one didn't make the news. It's happened in Heidelberg. And what this retired highway patrolman with many years service, former sheriff, now police chief, said, he said, the violent crime is almost always a repeat offender because people don't start with a gun. They work their way up to a gun. In some cases, a crime of passion. Some others, you may have the gun. But mostly what you see in violent crime is someone who started young, and generally they're still young, and they've just gotten away with so much that they finally reach a place where they have no respect for the law. They have no respect for law enforcement. They have no respect for each other. And we see what's happening. Now, when I talk about 80 Percentitis, I'm very active on the board of directors, and also I'm serve on the legislative committee of the Mississippi Municipal League. This is mayors and aldermen and city officials from all over the state. I also serve as president of the Southwest Mayors Association. We just had a meeting where we had a bunch of them here in Natchez just 3 weeks ago talking about all of this. I'm finding out, and I won't name the cities, but some cities you'd really be shocked to hear, because people think, oh, this only happens in certain places. No, it's happening everywhere. And violent crime, 80% of it, repeat offenders, but also 80%itis is affecting the bonding as well. 80% of the bonds that are being given on violent crime are ridiculously low. Some of them even on their own recognizance. And these individuals are then just going home, back on the street before you know it, waiting a trial date that may never come because all the offices are so backlogged and the crime lab's so backlogged and people are short-staffed in DA offices and courtrooms all over the state. And these people who are being bonded out on low bonds are then repeating crime even while they're on bond for other crimes. Right here in Natchez, we had a situation just a few years ago, actually just 3 years ago, where we had someone shoot into a crowd. You may remember this. And they killed 2 people, young people, people with promise. Do you know that they had already been arrested and out on bond for doing similar things in the county?
Yeah, I do.
We have had recent crime in our city, and we're finding out that, hey, these are all people well known to our police officers. They know them by their legal name. They know them by their street name. They know them by their nickname. They know where they live. They know what they do, because it's the same ones coming through over and over. Now, why should this be? And I'm not wanting to just say this is just Natchez Adams County. It's all over the state. I understand there was someone who was bonded out on a murder charge in a county up in the northern area of the Delta. I won't name names, but the mayor was so upset, told me about it. $5,000 bond, a murder charge. And if you bond out on $5,000, that's way below the bond guidelines. At least for murder start at $25,000. But even at $25,000, you can post $2,500 and then you're out. Or you can finance it with a bail bondsman, and you might get to pay just $100 every other week to the bail bondsman for about 2 or 3 years while you wait for your trial date to come out. And no telling how much more crime you can commit while you're waiting on that trial date. In this certain situation, the bond was $5,000. It only took $500 for that guy to get out of jail. And he was a known offender. He was a repeat offender. They all knew it. And so we've got to change a few things. For one thing, it's got to be a law that any time a case comes before a judge, and I don't care if it's a city judge, a county judge, a circuit judge, they've got to be able to see the prior arrest record. I'm sorry, but that's important. That is valid information, and it should be provided every single time to a judge. If you're going to establish a bond for an individual, you need access to their prior arrest record to know who you're dealing with. Am I right?
Right. You need to know their history.
It's that simple. This is all common sense.
Yeah.
The other thing that we have found out is that the bond guidelines are not set by the legislature, as we were led to believe. The legislature actually establishes what the penalties will be, but it is the courts that determine the bonds following bond guidelines set by the judicial procedures under the Supreme Court. In other words, the Supreme Court sets the rules by which lower courts go when they're setting bonds. And we cannot find it anywhere where they even refer to the victim's rights. Do you know in Mississippi we have a Victim's Bill of Rights? Mm-hmm. And they include that the victim should always have their safety taken into consideration when dealing with a criminal case. The safety of their family members. Well, if you look at the judicial rules, judges are basically being told that bonds are not there to keep people in jail. They are only there in order to make sure they show up for their trial date. Because we do have a system of innocent until proven guilty. Well, that may be true, but I also want to say we also are under a system where we have a Victim's Bill of Rights. It's in our Constitution in this state, and it needs to be considered. We need to be not as concerned about the rights of the accused at the expense of the rights of the victim. I am tired of meeting with mothers of victims of crime. Met with one today. An unsolved crime from a few years ago. And it is unconscionable that anyone should live in fear because the killer of their child is still out and loose on the street. I get very emotional and passionate about it because I think, what if it was my child? What if it was my family member? When I was only 14 years old, my father was shot at close range during an attempted mugging in Jackson, Mississippi. He was hit twice. Praise God, he was treated and released. He was okay. Someone on drugs, not in their right mind, emptied 6 chambers of a handgun, standing at his car door with the window down. And how my dad survived that is only by the grace of God. So my family's been affected by crime. And my heart goes out to people who are dealing with this now, with people who are in the prime of their youth, promise of their youth, high school and college, dealing with this. A young lady attending a homecoming, just beautiful, 29 years old, shot in the eye and left there to die. And she wasn't even a target. We have in our own community now young people who were at an athletic event, a county away from here just a couple of weeks ago, who were seen running from gunfire, and they now have those scars to carry the rest of their life. When is enough enough? And I want to issue a challenge right now to anyone within earshot of this broadcast to prove me wrong. And I'm going to just make the statement, based on my experience, 6 years as your mayor, I will say that 80% of the suspects in the crimes that are being investigated right now across the state as a result of the shootings that have happened the last 2 weeks are repeat offenders. Now, if you have evidence contrary to that, prove me wrong. But I would even go far to say that they're repeat offenders. It's time for this to stop. Now, I want to applaud some who are in leadership and wanting to help. We have had a great experience working through the Mississippi Municipal League and other mayors who have had enough and who have dealt with this. And mayors of cities that are now drying up because no one wants to live there because of crime. I'm so grateful we're having economic growth and we're doing so well. But it could turn on a dime if we let crime get out of hand. Now, when we talk about leaders working together, the Mississippi Municipal League is composed of all of the cities and towns in the state, and I'm working with mayors and city officials, aldermen, police chiefs to help solve this problem. We have a great leader in the name of Mayor Kopi Grantham, who is the current mayor of Saltillo, a former police officer who is the chair of our legislative committee at MML. We have been working with Mayor Grantham to also meet with state leaders, and we had some of them here in Natchez for a conversation on this, as I said, with the mayors of Southwest Mississippi, aldermen, and others, even some police chiefs. And Bryce Wiggins, who is chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chad McMahon, chair of the Senate Municipalities Committee. We also had Randy Rushing, chair of the House Municipalities Committee here. They've been really helpful. One thing we know is that the legislature is going to have to look seriously at the funding for the state crime labs. We have a beautiful state-of-the-art facility in Rankin County that has never been fully funded. We understand the salaries that we have in Mississippi are at some of the lowest in the nation. And in fact, just last week, I was able to talk to a gentleman who was with the forensics department at Southern Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi, for 20 years and is now a mayor. And he said that in that 20 years, he saw it over and over again where young people would go to work for one of the crime labs in Mississippi, work only a year, and then be recruited elsewhere. We've got to stop that because we've got to make sure that we're getting the evidence back. We're in a time now where cases are decided on forensic science. Gone are the days of just dusting for fingerprints. And if you don't have the evidence in order, you're not going to be able to prosecute and win a case. So it's really important to get funding for Crime Lab up. But another thing is, I want to see our lawmakers pass laws that give better protections to law enforcement. Right now, and we've seen this, unfortunately, the hard way, is the minimum sentence for simple assault on a law enforcement official, that is a police officer or sheriff deputy, and simple assault means you're using your hands. You can kill somebody with your hands. Do you know what the minimum sentence is? 0. 0 is the minimum sentence. That's got to change. And as long as the minimum sentence is 0, now aggravated assault on a police officer, I think you get up to a minimum of maybe 2 years. I'm going to have to double check the figures. We've gone through these figures left and right, but it's still low. It's still not enough to warrant something very important. If someone is on bond on crime and they assault a police officer, because the penalty is not at least 5 years, the existing bond on their current crime doesn't have to be revoked. We had that situation. We had someone, Operation Safe Neighborhoods, arrested someone last November and arrested them on charges of attempted murder and shooting into an occupied dwelling. We picked them up right before Thanksgiving. 3 weeks later, of course they bonded out immediately once they got the cash. 3 weeks later, they assaulted one of our police officers using their hands. That, in Mississippi, simple assault. I'm sorry, you can kill someone with your hands. He was later found guilty, released back in June for time served. Oh, but the bond is still in force on the attempted murder and shooting into a occupied dwelling. He's out right now on bond on that. because even though he attacked the officer, it didn't rise to the limit to allow his bond to be revoked. I've learned more than I ever wanted to learn, but I've learned enough to know that we here in Natchez and other cities across the state are beating our heads against the wall to try to solve this unless we finally get some real penalties, some real bond amounts, and some judges that will do the right thing. I want to talk about the judges a minute. And so, there's something that Supreme Court justices, they are the highest in the land, correct?
Right.
And every time they have a ruling, you know what they have to do? They have to justify it. They actually have to have a written opinion that backs up their ruling. You familiar with that?
Absolutely.
Why don't our local judges have to do that? We're in life and death situations. City court, justice court, county court, circuit court. We have had some cases where the bond rulings, the bond guidelines are so low. I mean, it starts at $25,000 for murder. Really? So $2,500 will get you out and finance that? If that's not bad enough, we have some judges that don't even follow that. And they will let them out, as I said a minute ago, on $5,000 or, in some cases, on their own recognizance. We've had situations right here in this county, in Justice Court, right here in this county, where we've had a judge let people out on a domestic violence charge on a $500 bond. $500. Violence. Domestic violence. They only paid $50 and they're home. Okay, so this is what we've got to do. As Supreme Court justices have to justify their rulings, I think it's time that local judges have to justify their rulings. Let the city judges, let the circuit judges, let the justice court county judges have to have a written justification for every bond that they issue on violent crime. Because then the next time they're running for office, the public will have a written record. And the record will be what it is. And they will have to answer to it when they're running for re-election. We all have a responsibility. I don't mean to be pointing fingers. We all have a responsibility in finding a solution. But until we pay our law enforcement officers better, until we support the crime lab, until we have laws that protect our law enforcement officers, until we have better bond guidelines, until we care about the victim, until we absolutely take murder seriously. And I'm sorry, but when you commit murder in this state, I don't think you get a second chance. And so until we take all this seriously, we're going to see more and more. And we are going to be dying of 80 Percentitis. It will kill us. People will leave. And we already have cities in certain parts of the state that are struggling to even have a budget to hire a police officer because the businesses have closed, because the people have left, and because they have no tax base left. Crime? Well, it's time. The time is now. And if it's not going to be us, who's it going to be? And so you're going to hear more about it, because to me, we can do everything else in the world in this state, but if we aren't solving our crime issues, the rest just won't matter. I'm out of time. Any parting comments? I'm sure I have stirred some feathers. I do want to say this. I want to thank our governor. Our governor is a very tough on crime individual. I'm grateful for what he's doing. I'm grateful for our lieutenant governor, Delbert Hosemann. Tate Reeves, Delbert Hosemann, they've been friends a long time. I also want to give a shout out to Sean Tyndall, Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. He was in Natchez just a few weeks ago. He's worked so hard to solve these crimes, working with the MBI. But I also want to give a shout out to Supreme Court Chief Justice Randolph and others who have taken time to meet with us. I think we're going to find solutions. it's incumbent upon us to do it. Well, we've got great things happening. Fall is beautiful. Many things heading our way. We have a historic announcement coming soon that will mean a lot for economic development here and tourism. We also are met with some of the Eola development team today.
Mm-hmm.
Great things. Marriott Tribute property.
Mm-hmm.
Our dock on the river, American Cruise Lines, $4 million dock is going forward. All of these events, wow, the Balloon Festival. We have Angels on the Bluff coming up. We have so many I can't even
That's coming up.
count them all.
Yeah.
Let us every day count our blessings that we live in a community as wonderful as Natchez. And I just pray that one day communities all over the land can enjoy what we enjoy. And that is just a beautiful, great city.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. May God bless you, Mr. Leon, Facebook, listeners on WTYJ 97.7 The Beat, and God bless Natchez.
We greatly appreciate you, Mayor. And I was just looking up the Bill of Rights on that, and maybe someone needs to get in touch with the Attorney General.
Yes. We have actually talked to General Fitch about it.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah,
it's time for
that
everybody
needs to, be
really
Finch,
step up.
Absolutely.
And it's time for victims to be heard.
Yeah.
It is time for victims to be heard. I am tired of hearing about the rights of the accused. What about the rights of the victim? Right. Especially when the accused have an arrest record this long.
Right.
I'll stop.
Okay.
God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This has been Natchez Renewal.